In your remote Ringling class, you'll be following along in Zoom while working in your iPad app. If ever you need help with that app during class time, the best way to get it is by sharing your iPad screen. There are 3 ways of setting yourself up to do so. The first setup is to split your iPad screen. And the second and third setups are to work on your iPad while Zoom runs on your computer. The only difference between the two is how your devices are connected. And a side note here, that the only time you'd connect is if you needed to share your iPad screen with a class. In setup 2, your devices wirelessly connect by way of AirPlay. And in setup 3, they're connected by a cable. And if you need a cable, I've included a link to this web page below for your convenience. And so we might dive right into our course material in the very first session. This video will help you understand and work out your setup in advance. We'll circle back to go over the 3 steps just mentioned, but first, let's cross-reference the Zoom Help Center page. And I've provided a link to this web page below.
In this video, you'll learn how to share content within a Zoom meeting. Simply select
The video on that
Screen
page will
at the
walk you
bottom.
through the general basics of screen sharing. And in this video that you're currently watching, we'll specifically talk about how you would share your iPad screen. And if you need more assist than these 2 videos can offer, select this little chat icon and request some assistance from a specialist. It takes little doing to get a human, but after a few exchanges, you'll get through to someone. But let's see if we can't bypass such a chat, because the steps are actually pretty easy. And so again, there are 3 setup options that will allow you to work on your iPad app while following along in Zoom. In setup 1, where you split your iPad screen, you first need to go to the App Store and install Zoom on your iPad if you have not already. Next, screen splitting is much easier when the 2 apps you want to display are pinned on the dock. To do so, long press on your screen until the apps start wiggling around. Drag the Zoom app to the dock as well as your class-related app and any other apps that you use frequently. Open that targeted app. Then bring up the dock by swiping up. Press and drag Zoom to your preferred side of the screen and release. You can then adjust the ratio between the 2 window panes by dragging the bar in between. This setup is doable, however screen real estate is pretty small even on an iPad Pro, so you may want to consider the latter 2 setup options. And those 2 options aren't available on the mobile version of Zoom, so you'll need to set them up on your computer. I'm going to jump screens right now and do just that. Now on the desktop version of Zoom on my computer, I'm going to click this green Share Screen button. And then for the second option, I'm going to select this iPhone, iPad via AirPlay. I can double click or hit the share button. And then you get these instructions saying to, number 1, be connected to a Wi-Fi connection, and number 2, go back to your iPad for this screen mirroring. And so I'm on my iPad right now, and as soon as I select my Zoom Tom's iMac, it takes a little while, it's chugging along, and boom, you can see my screen. And when I wanted to stop sharing, I would select this stop mirroring, but I'm going to tap on my desktop, and then I'm ready to share my screen. So I'm going to stop this share, and we're going to walk through the third setup, which is pretty much the same thing, but we're selecting another button. So I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to take a moment to connect my computer to a cable, the one that I showed you at Best Buy. So now I'm plugged in, my computer is plugged in to my iPad, and I'm going to go back to screen share. Now this time I'm going to select the cable selection, and again I can double click or I can select the share button. and it's the same thing. Now, one thing to note here is that my iPad and computer already have an ongoing relationship, and they trust each other, which is very important in a relationship. Anyway, if you're connecting your computer to your iPad for the first time, you might have a little call up when you make these selections asking whether you trust the device that you're connecting to. So just a little side note there. So now I'm going to stop sharing and wrap up this video on iPad screen shares, and I will meet you in the pin and favorite video next.